What if Revan awakened during Order 66 and saved Anakin? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Anakin tossed and turned in his bed. Though he tries, he can't shake off the visions of Padmé lying on the bed, her screams of agony echoing across the room. All around her, the Force feels heavy, suffocating, and drawing him in deeper. He can feel it reaching out to him, trying to grab him, and Anakin nearly allows it to. But then something pulls him back. A low, booming voice that shouts a warning.
No, you fool. This is not what it seems. You are being misled.
What? Who said that?
Skywalker, the Force trembles around you. Do not give in to the darkness, for you will take the galaxy with you. This dream is but an illusion.
Who are you? Another Sith? What do you want from me?
I'm far more than a mere Sith. Just know that I've walked the same path you do now. I can guide you in a way no Jedi or Sith can.
Revan gestures, and Anakin feels the nightmare weaken. A new vision comes to be, and Anakin finds a rocky landscape where a lone figure stands, draped in a long cloak and a red mask.
Journey here to Concordia. Here you shall find your destiny.
Before Anakin can respond, Revan begins to fade. The vision dissolves, leaving Anakin to make sense of everything that happened. He tells the Jedi Council that he wishes to take a few days off to clear his head and meditate. Anakin's careful to mask his arrival on Mandalore, as he knows the planet is virtually in a civil war between Maul and Bo-Katan, and Concordia is the Mandalorian resistance base. As he steps out and surveys the landscape, Anakin notices how harsh and unforgiving it is. The entire plain below looks barren, as if the ground was ripped up.
Not the most pleasant sight to see, is it?
Anakin whirls around and draws his lightsaber.
Good reflexes, but unnecessary here. I have only come to speak. My name is Revan.
A shiver runs down Anakin's back as he hears that name. Every Jedi knows the story of Darth Revan, and Anakin suspects that this man doesn't simply share his name.
And what are you doing here? To teach you. The Chosen One is needed now more than ever. I will ensure that balance is achieved. Take a look at the landscape one more time.
Although confused, Anakin obeys.
This was once a lush land, fertile and green, with farms and grasslands running as far as the eye can see. But the Mandalorians didn't value it. They wished to turn this moon into a mine for their war machine. Years of war turned it into this.
I've read the histories. I know all this.
Do you know? Then close your eyes and feel the Force here.
Anakin follows and feels a hollowness in this world. Though there is life, it feels devoid of spirit. Broken. It is as if the Force itself is choking in this unforgiving landscape. The pain begins to spread across his body and forces him to break his connection.
It doesn't feel so good, does it? We are all connected by the Force, which means our actions have an effect on it. And for beings like us, it can be worse than you can imagine. What took decades for the Mandalorians to do, we can do 1,000-fold in a matter of days. I've seen it once. I will not let it happen again.
Anakin, for the first time, begins to understand the power of this being. It is not just his connection to the Force, but also the ancientness about him and his wisdom. To learn under him is an opportunity like no other. For the next few days, Anakin learns more than he ever did in years under the Jedi Order. Revan reveals the intricacies of the Force, not as a doctrine of light and dark, but as a spectrum, an endless web of connections between all living things. To truly master the Force means drawing on it at different levels, as the situation requires. What truly matters is balancing power, to use it only when necessary. And to show when it is necessary, Revan shows him how to sense the energy between beings, to see their nature and what is required. But the lessons do not come without cost. The more Anakin connects, the more he feels the galaxy's pain, the overwhelming anguish of countless beings suffering in this war. As their training continues, Anakin's movements become more precise. his understanding sharper. He begins to question the dogma of the Jedi more deeply, recognizing the limitations of their fear of attachment and emotion. He could spend a decade there if he wanted to, but he only gets a few weeks as he's summoned by Obi-Wan with urgent news. Ahsoka contacts them and requires their help as she comes into contact with the Mandalore resistance and seeks to help overthrow Maul. Anakin explains that he's already in the system for a meditation exercise and will help them. Obi-Wan questions this excuse, but the situation is too hectic for him to dwell on it. Soon after, a Republic cruiser arrives on Concordia to pick up Anakin and Revan. They find Rex, Ahsoka, and the rest of the 332nd. Ahsoka embraces her old master, but they are surprised to see the second Jedi, who Anakin introduces as Revan.
Right. Ahsoka, this is Revan, an old Jedi Master. Apologies. I've been living in exile for some time.
Who?
Revan turns his masked gaze briefly toward her, his presence in the Force unyielding and commanding. He makes it clear he's not looking to answer questions, and Ahsoka quiets down. Rex places a hand on her shoulder reassuringly.
Commander, we'll make sense of this later. For now, we've got a battle to win.
The two nod, and Bo-Katan says she's grateful for whatever help they can find. As they board the gunships, the Mandalorian soldiers all glance at Revan warily. Although he says nothing, his presence is far from welcoming.
That helmet. Where did you get it?
From a Mandalorian. I wear it in honor because she prized her honor above strength. I hope you will be the same.
Strength is what makes our people.
I've heard that a lot. From Mandalorians, from Sith, and slavers. Tell me, did your group ever own slaves?
Well, technically yes.
You're a monster. But I suppose whoever's down there must be worse. Can you sense it, Skywalker?
I can sense it. Maul is a despicable being.
So, first one down?
You're on.
As the gunship doors open, Revan leaps out, landing on an enemy Mandalorian warrior and directing his jetpack toward the surface. The others leap after him, eager to catch up. Ahsoka leaps from ship to ship, while Anakin glides through the air, cutting through enemy Mandalorians. Each practically becomes a blur, but Ahsoka's strategy seems best, as she lands on a landing pad just as a squad of enemy soldiers surround her. However, a powerful force push throws them back as Revan approaches.
Impressive. I'm going to enjoy this.
Revan draws his purple lightsaber and smiles under his mask as the Mandalorians open fire. He moves like a storm. His strikes are fluid and deadly as he happily cuts through enemy soldiers. As the rest land around him, Anakin wisely advises them to give Revan a wide berth, as he recalls the stories about him. The 332nd surges forward with precision, their formation tightening as they press into the Mandalorian line. Ahsoka leads the charge, her blades weaving an elegant but deadly dance through the air. Behind her, Rex commands the troopers, taking command of one company that rushes straight toward the main plaza. Anakin is close beside them, feeling the Force swirling around him in a storm of energy. Anakin draws from that power and unleashes it at them, throwing the nearest soldiers back. The Mandalorians fight fiercely, using jetpacks and grappling lines to reposition themselves and evade fire. But even their skill and ferocity falter against Revan's raw power and Anakin's skill. But while Revan is the biggest threat, the Mandalorians focus on a single target, Anakin. While the battle rages around them, a group of hand-picked warriors swarm him with jetpack-assisted charges and volleys of blaster fire. Anakin deflects and counters with remarkable speed, but this aggression takes him off guard. Anakin recalls Revan's lesson and takes a deep breath, feeling his rage and drawing on it. The image of Padmé in her hospital bed is enough as he bursts into action, using the Force to propel him forward, leaping up at the oncoming Mandalorians and cutting them down. In a few quick bursts, they drop from the sky like flies, leaving the rest rushing away once they see their tactics aren't working. The battle crescendos as Ahsoka and Revan converge toward Anakin's position. The clones and rebel Mandalorians rush by, securing the position while the enemies retreat deeper into the city. As the battle quiets, the survivors regroup. The 332nd forms a defensive perimeter. Revan places a hand on Anakin's shoulder.
Well done, Skywalker.
As the remaining Death Watch warriors retreat, they receive word from Bo-Katan that she secured the palace and captured Prime Minister Almec. The Jedi join them there and receive updates from the Jedi on Coruscant. The battle is going well, and Obi-Wan manages to capture Count Dooku. They order that Anakin capture Maul and bring him back to Coruscant as quickly as possible. The clone forces quickly secure Sundari, taking control of the upper levels and driving the Death Watch deeper into the lower districts, where they fortify the tunnels and turn them into a fortress. This prevents the clones from making much progress. However, Captain Vaughn soon reports a weak point where his unit is making some progress. He requests the Jedi to help him push deeper. Ahsoka and Anakin depart, but Revan hesitates, saying he plans to catch up in a bit. Anakin leads the charge, his lightsaber illuminating the narrow passage ahead as Ahsoka and Captain Vaughn's unit advances cautiously, their rifles sweeping every corner for signs of ambush. They've managed to drive back the Death Watch defenders, who seem to have fewer soldiers so far, as they encounter only the occasional Death Watch warrior, who pop out of cover to fire only to be swiftly neutralized.
Keep moving!
Suddenly, the narrow tunnel widens into a cavernous chamber, its walls reinforced with crude barricades and heavy machinery. Anakin slows his pace, his hand motioning for the clones to halt. Before anyone can speak, explosions ripple through the tunnel behind them as the Mandalorians rush out and fire from behind. Jetpacks ignite above, and Death Watch warriors descend from the shadows, their blasters raining fire from all directions. The clones scramble for cover, returning fire as the battle descends into chaos. Ahsoka moves to cover Vaughn with her lightsabers, helping the clones to get into cover as a figure leaps out from the barricades. Maul's twin-bladed lightsaber ignited.
Skywalker, at last we meet properly. Let me show you the power of true hatred.
Maul surges forward, twirling his lightsaber upward and forcing Anakin to defend. He tries to push the lightsaber down, but Maul twists again and tries to strike with his other blade. Anakin ducks under the overhand sight and tries to stab downward. The Night Brother laughs and spins it around, forcing Anakin to break off his attack. The force of the duel is seismic, each impact sending tremors through the already unstable tunnel as blaster bolts explode around them. Ahsoka tries to move to help, but a volley of blaster fire forces her to leap back, preventing her from joining them. Maul continues to press his attack, swinging his lightsaber in a mad burst of strikes. Through this, he laughs and slams a metallic knee against Anakin, who stumbles back against the wall.
You're holding back. I can feel it. The anger boiling under your skin. Let it out.
Anakin's grip tightens on his saber, the fire inside him starting to burn brighter, the memories of his nightmares bubbling to the surface. For a moment, the red-hot haze begins to creep into his vision. His strikes become heavier, more reckless. The blows rain down on Maul as he feels his strength growing. But at the same time, his attacks become careless, and more of Maul's strikes land, causing some minor injuries, and others dangerously close to lethal. Maul smirks, sensing the shift.
Yes, that's it. The Jedi cannot help you. Give in and take the power before you.
But then, clarity. Anakin remembers Revan's teachings, the balance, the connections between all living things, and the destructive power of losing control. He takes a deep breath, forcing the anger to recede. Instead, he reaches out to feel Ahsoka and the troopers behind him, feeling their determination and ferocity. This lets him regain focus. His movements become measured once more as he catches Maul's attacks and punches him across the face. Maul's smirk falters as he realizes his taunts have failed. He tries to come at him again, but Anakin catches each attack and then steps forward into the attack, thrusting at his neck and sending Maul stumbling back. With a frustrated growl, the Sith Lord tries to attack, but Anakin is now ready for them, and the battle swings in Anakin's favor.
Seal the tunnels! Bury them all!
Death Watch troopers launch jetpack missiles toward the fragile ceiling supports and the small group of Republic troops. The clones shout warnings, scrambling to escape the impending collapse. Suddenly, the missiles freeze mid-air, the propulsion systems whining uselessly. The room is bathed in a crimson glow as Revan strides into the chamber, his hand outstretched as he holds the projectiles in the Force. With a flick of his wrist, the missiles arc away from the ceiling, slamming harmlessly into the far wall.
Maul, you should have stayed in the shadows.
The Mandalorians hesitate, staring nervously at the Jedi. The legend of Revan was spoken with fear amongst the Mandalorians. Maul snarls, swinging his saber staff. But then he deactivates it and raises his hands as he feels the power of Revan and knows he is outmatched.
I surrender.
The days after Maul's capture, the city of Sundari is now under Republic control. Anakin oversees the remaining clones securing the lower districts when he receives word of a Jedi task force coming to arrest Maul. This group is led by Yoda and Mace, and is joined by a group of shock troopers led by Commander Fox. But the atmosphere shifts when Mace Windu speaks.
We're not just here for Maul. We've come for him.
He points at Revan just as the clones aim at him. Ahsoka steps closer to Anakin, her eyes narrowing. The clones around them stiffen, their weapons held at the ready.
What are you talking about? Revan isn't the enemy. You've heard the record, Skywalker. Revan is a Sith Lord. His history is well documented in the archives. And he returns just as this war is happening.
He's not like that anymore. Revan saved me from falling to the dark side. How can you accuse him of this without proof? Dooku must be lying if he confessed such a thing. Count Dooku is dead, Anakin. Killed in his cell by the Force. Yet there was no one in his cell. Only a being as powerful as Revan could have done it.
Masters, I've seen it myself. I've seen how my master has changed after his training.
Troubling it is. But since the dark side here we have manipulated the Force here is. Tempered by Revan, it may be.
Anakin freezes at the revelation. The death of Dooku sends a ripple of unease through him. But the thought of Revan committing such an act feels impossible.
I don't believe it. It was him who thought to be balanced. Him who prevented me from chasing false visions.
Master Yoda steps forward, his eyes narrowing on Anakin. He closes his eyes briefly, reaching out through the Force.
Truth in your words there is. At peace you are. A peace I've never seen before.
Before the conversation can go further, the clones seem to receive a message as they take into their signals. Fox then steps forward, and the clones raise their weapons in unison.
You heard him. Execute Order 66.
But as the clones raise their blasters, one hesitates. Rex rips off his helmet, and his hands shake against his blaster. He trembles and tries to shake his head.
No. Something's wrong. Find fives.
He suddenly fires a blaster round, nearly taking Obi-Wan. Blaster fire erupts in an instant, and the Jedi ignite their sabers, deflecting bolts as the clones press their assault. Anakin reacts instinctively, his lightsaber springing to life as he steps in front of Ahsoka. The clones push forward while the Jedi's mind races, trying to figure out what just happened and why did the clones turn against them. Revan moves with terrifying precision, his crimson blade arcs through the air, blocking their blaster fire and then throwing him back.
Anakin, focus!
The battle rages, and Anakin joins in, watching as the Jedi are herded together. To his right, Kit Fisto falls from a well-placed shot by Commander Fox, and soon more begin to fall.
Full concentration. I have an idea.
The two pause amidst the chaos and take a deep breath, letting the chaotic energies around them flow through them as they reach into it and then swirl it around. They make a cutting motion that sweeps the energy against the clones, sending them flying to one side and momentarily clearing the room. This buys the group time to escape as they run out through one of the side doors, but more clones start to fly in while the Jedi struggle to keep together, defending themselves while keeping Maul secure. When they reach one of the courtyards, they receive some much-needed aid as Bo-Katan intercepts them. Her Mandalorians rush out and fire at the clones, incapacitating them and clearing the courtyard. Her Mandalorian warriors stay behind to cover their retreat, while Bo-Katan gives them instructions on how they can escape the city. All around them, the capital turns into a battlefield once more as the clones turn on their former allies, turning every alley and every street into a skirmish that the Jedi must dodge or fight through until they reach an abandoned hangar with a few Mandalorian starfighters waiting for them. Bo-Katan seals the entrance behind them.
This will buy us some time. Not much, but enough to regroup.
The Jedi gather in a tense circle, their minds racing to process what was happening. The reality of the betrayal hangs over them like a storm cloud.
What's going on? Why would these clones turn on us? Why now?
You still don't realize it. This is the culmination of Sidious's grand design. Sidious? What do you know about this? Everything. He was my master after all. The war, the fall of the Jedi. It has all been orchestrated by my former master. This Order 66 is but the final stroke of his masterpiece.
If you know everything, then you'll tell us. Now.
No, I've already done my part in preventing his plan from coming to fruition now that Skywalker is here.
I wasn't planning to kill you. I was planning to rip the truth from your mind.
The room grows colder, the Force itself seeming to coil around Revan as he raises his hand. Maul flinches, his bravado cracking.
Wait, okay, I'll tell you. Sidious is Palpatine, the Supreme Chancellor of the Republic. He has been playing both sides of this war from the beginning, manipulating the Jedi and the Senate to consolidate his power. The clones' betrayal, it's all part of his plan to destroy the Jedi and establish his empire.
The revelation hits the group like a thunderclap. Ahsoka's breath catches, Maul's face darkens, and Obi-Wan gasps. Anakin's mind races, the flashes of his time with Palpatine surfacing.
No, that can't be true. It is Skywalker. You were his greatest pawn. You were meant to stand at his side as the enforcer of his new order. However, he deemed you redundant.
Anakin's hand shakes as he grips his lightsaber. The rage and betrayal he feels are almost unbearable, but he forces himself to breathe.
If what you say is true, then Sidious has underestimated us. The Jedi are more broken than he believes. We must regroup. First, your captain mentioned something called Fives.
Not something. Someone. He was a trooper. He must be referring to his files. I can track it.
In the meantime, the rest of us can confront Palpatine.
They board the separate Mandalorian starfighters and take off. Once they land in the capital, Obi-Wan and the other Jedi hurry to the Jedi Temple, while Anakin and Revan hurry to confront Palpatine. By the time they reach the Senate building, Palpatine is waiting for them. He smiles calmly as his eyes gleam dangerously.
Ah, my friends. You've returned sooner than I expected. I trust the situation on Mandalore has been resolved.
It's over, Sidious. We know everything.
Do you? And what exactly do you plan to do about it?
We're here to end this.
You think you can defeat me?
Easily.
The room explodes into chaos. Sidious's red blade ignites and lunges at the Jedi. Revan meets him head-on as he twists aside and shoves Palpatine back right to Anakin's waiting lightsaber. Palpatine barely ducks underneath it and whirls back against them. The two Jedi rush at him, forcing Palpatine to divide his attention. Yet, even with their combined strength, the Sith Lord's power is immense. His blade moves like a blur, deflecting each attack and holding his ground. His age doesn't slow him down, though Revan continues to press him, every strike moving with practiced ease and keeping the Sith Lord on his toes. Anakin is equally ferocious as he takes every lesson Revan teaches him and channels it now. Around them, the darkness gathers as they press Palpatine, scoring a shallow injury across his mouth. He steps forward, letting it overwhelm them as he rushes towards them. Revan easily dissipates the darkness his way, but Anakin has a harder time. It begins to surround him, wrapping its tendrils across his body.
Fools. I had hoped you would fulfill your destiny and destroy the Jedi, but you are weak.
Anakin screams as the darkness grows more intense, shattering his focus and leaving him unable to move. All the dark thoughts he's been trying to keep down suddenly come rushing out. The doubts in his head, the fear, and the anger, all of them arrive in full force, calling him to fight. It reaches out to him, but Anakin suddenly pulls away and shakes his head. He remembers what Revan told him and feels the darkness loosening. He thrusts his hands out and sends them flying. A second later, he's on Palpatine again, and rains attacks on him. Palpatine gasps and tries to defend himself, but it is as if Anakin is receiving a burst of energy which he cannot compete with. Laughing, Revan joins him, his own lightsaber covering Anakin and then coming low, taking Palpatine's leg at the knee. He screams in pain and drops to the ground, but glances up.
You think you have won? You cannot kill me. I am the Republic.
Then you'll answer for your crimes.
They bind Palpatine with force restraints and transport him to the Senate chamber, where a hastily convened emergency session is underway. Maul is brought forth, his testimony damning. He recounts everything: Sidious's manipulation of the war, the creation of the clone army, and the plot to destroy the Jedi. But the senators hesitate, their fear of Palpatine still evident. His allies jump at the circumstantial evidence, saying how none of this confirms anything. The tide turns when Ahsoka arrives, carrying a small device in her hands. She places it on the central podium and activates a hologram. It displays Five's report, along with the detailed scans of an inhibitor chip. The room falls silent as the truth unfolds. The clones were conditioned to execute Order 66. Gasps ripple through the chamber. A coalition of senators, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Padmé Amidala among them, steps forward to denounce Palpatine, demanding his immediate arrest. The Senate guards move in and take Palpatine into custody. As the dust settles, everyone considers their next options. With Palpatine gone, some even go as far as suggesting Revan be made Chancellor, but the Jedi refuses, instead offering to serve as Palpatine's guardian. Elections are soon underway, but the Jedi are immediately pardoned. Although Anakin is offered the rank of Master, he instead refuses and opts to continue serving with Revan to try and achieve balance. Seeing how much Anakin's grown under him, the Jedi accept this and allow Anakin to leave with full honors. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.